I was doing all this by myself at one point, you know.
What?
And I think, you know, I was just scared to like step out and bring somebody else in because I didn't think that they would do it with the same passion, and you know, it's not there. So, you know, and then I was worried about money. I'm like, man, am I gonna be paying somebody too much to do this when I should just do it myself? And I had to release that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a big Achilles heel for me for a long time. You know, just wanting to do it myself because I'm thinking I'm saving money, but I was limiting myself in the amount of work that I could get done if I had brought somebody else in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So once I opened myself up to that idea and I actually did it and I hired a superintendent, it felt like the weight of the world was off my shoulders. Now I can fly, you know what I'm saying? I went from building 5 houses to 25 houses in 1 year.
Wow, that's
you know,
so cool.
Because I was able to focus on getting the permits approved, getting everything I needed to take care of that part while he was in the field pushing the construction, you know, making sure things were getting done.
Julius, I came to the realization that I could hire people that were better than me.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you?
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Could you talk about that a little bit? Because my dad was always say, if you want it done right,
yeah, you gotta do it yourself.
And I'm like, that is the worst advice you can tell somebody.
Yeah.
If you want it done right, hire the guy that knows how to do it.
Yeah.
Go.
That's right. Yeah, man. I mean, you know, my situation worked out really great. I feel like, you know, I mean, listen, I'm absolutely blessed, right? Because I have great people around me to help me get this stuff done. But the person that I hired, he happened to be the building official for the city of Norfolk.
Wow.
So he was in charge of everything down here at the city of Norfolk when it came to building codes and compliance, right? He was the head guy. All of the inspectors that come out in the field, they all work for him. And this man forgot more about construction than I know. And fortunately, he retired from the city of Norfolk. We have become friends over the years, and he said, you know, he got into a situation in his house, he needed a hand, helped him out, and we got to talking. He said, Julius, man, if you ever need a hand out there, man, I'm retired, I ain't doing nothing. And I'm like, man, okay, let me think about that. And I avoided it, right? I didn't take him up on the offer initially. I was just like, man, I can't afford to pay this guy, man. Like, I don't want to do that, you know what I'm saying? You know, I need as much money in my pocket as I got 2 kids getting ready to go to college, man. I need all that money. But I was like, one day I had gotten a bunch of permits approved at one time. I'm like, man, how am I going to do all of this stuff?
You ain't going to do it.
Yeah, it's like, man, how am I going to manage doing all this? It got crazy. It was like,
that's impossible, right? It would be a little. Could you manage?
Yeah, it is to do it effectively. You know, I would have finally muddled through it and got it done. But I mean, like, I would have killed myself doing it. I wouldn't have been able to spend time with my family. I wouldn't have, you know, I would have sacrificed a lot, you know. And so I called him. I said, JJ, man, you still did I take you up on that offer, man? He said, yeah, man, I told you, give me a call. And we've just been rolling ever since then. You know, he's just been a huge, huge blessing to me, you know, in the way of helping, you know, the groundwork and getting things moved forward out in the field. You know,
that's cool.
Which allowed me the opportunity to sit down with, you know, my wholesalers and my real estate agents and find the next projects. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm not stuck here doing this. I can move now. You know.
Good.
And
Okay.
so that's helped out quite a bit.
So I want to talk about drawings from the start, and then we'll get into city interfacing, which I wish you could transfer some of that grief onto some of the people here for dealing with the city. I'm sure it ain't easy to do.
Not at all.
Let's talk about drawings, Jay, because when I've done some new construction, and it has taken me months to get these drawings done. And I want to talk about it from survey, site plan, all that, house plan. Talk about it a little bit. Sure.
Well, so it starts with the property itself, right? And understanding the makeup of the property. So, you know, not every lot is a perfect square or rectangle or whatever. You know, some lots are oddly shaped. I have a few of them right now. And so once you have what I like to call a canvas, you have this property, then you have to kind of figure out what you're going to put on it, right? And that's where your architect comes into play, because there's 2 people that are super important in this process, which is your architect and your surveyor, right? Those 2 guys tell you what you can and can't do with this property, what you can build on it. So initially, what I will do is contact my surveyor to make sure that he understands the lay of the land, so to speak. that this property is in fact shaped this certain way, and you can put a house on it, but you need to talk to the architect and let him know that he needs to construct something that is within these confines, whether the house is 20 foot wide by 40 foot deep. He'll know that based off of what they call setbacks, right? Each property in every city has what they call setbacks. That is a space of land from the property line inward that you cannot build in, that they do not want a permanent structure, right? So just say, for instance, in Norfolk, generally a conforming lot is 50 foot wide by 100 foot deep, 5,000 square feet, right?
50. Okay.
And that's just a basic property. I mean, they come in all different shapes and sizes, and we can get deeper into that. But a 50 by 100 foot wide lot.
The square footage.
Right, the square footage of
okay.
the property itself, 5,000 square foot, 50 foot wide by 100 foot deep. In that 50 foot width, they have what they call side setbacks. Those side setbacks in Norfolk are 5 feet, right? So from the property line, the actual property line, which is 50 foot apart from each other in width, you subtract 5 feet from this side and 5 feet from that side. That's the envelope that you have to build with them right there, right? And then they have the same thing for the rear and the front setbacks, which are usually much longer. The front setbacks are generally 20 feet, the rear 20, 25 feet, whatever that is. So now that gives you this buildable pad that you can put a house in. And you want to utilize as much of that space as you can, right? So if that only leaves you with you take 5 and 5 off each side, that leaves you with 40 feet, then you want to build a 40 foot wide house. Or generally, some people won't go that far. It just depends on a lot of other variables that we can get into later. So now you have the building envelope. Now you're talking to your architect saying, hey, look, I need a house that fits whatever that building pad is. The architect will give you a set of plans based off of that, right? Plans are super important because obviously they detail the construction of the house, what it looks like, what the floor plan is, and all your different measurements that you have on your plans. And I always say this, nobody should know your plans better than you, right? A lot of people see these plans and they see all these numbers on it and they see all of this wording and the notes, and they don't read them, right? Because they just rely on, give the plans to the framer and he'll know what to do. That's not altogether wrong, but at the same time, you need to know those plans, right? Because there's always a lot of details and notes in there that sometimes they'll miss, and you'll pay for it, right?
Give us an example, Julius.
Well, I mean, just say for instance, this has happened a very long time ago, but I had a set of plans, and the plans it gave you options of how you can design your master bathroom, and it actually gave you the option of how you can design the kitchen, right? One of the options for the kitchen really wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing option. It kind of sectioned the kitchen off from the rest of the house. And in this day and age, you want that open floor plan. You want that, to give it a more spacious feel when you walk in the house. And this didn't do that. And so me not paying attention to those options, the framer just built the house and chose the option that was on the plans instead of looking at the other two options that were in the bottom of the notes. And I didn't look at them, and I didn't tell him which one I wanted. So he went with the one that was on the original plans. And so unfortunately, by the time we did it and it was all framed up and I paid any attention to it, it was too late. And the real estate agent came in and said, man, this looks odd. Why did you do the kitchen like this? I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, that's the way the plans were. And we got to looking at the plans, and the real estate agent noticed it. It's like, no, you could have did this option right here. And I'm like, oh my God. So it just,
That's deep.
That's
deep.
Eventually we sold the house and all that stuff. But I mean, I'm saying it just didn't look right. And it was because I didn't pay attention to the plans. I didn't read the plans thoroughly enough to understand that I had options, of doing it the way I wanted. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying no one cares about your house more than you.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,